Hi there, my name is Kai and I'm the creator of Midnight's Reign, a My Little Pony fan project I've been developing since 2020. Midnight's Reign follows one of the timelines created by Starlight Glimmer in the Season 5 finale, where Twilight Sparkle has become the primary ruler. But instead of Twilight being a kind and benevolent princess like in the canon, she's a cold and power-hungry empress, going by the name Midnight Sparkle instead. I debated on what to do for this Midnight's Reign promotional video. I was going back and forth on what I should draw. Eventually, it made the most sense to show my redesigns of the main six, and two other characters that are going to be joining the main cast. So here it is. I'll be going over my designs and my thought processes as we go along. Let's go in order of least to most changes from their canon design. Alright, we're gonna get started with Rainbow Dash, who I think has changed the least physically. That doesn't mean she hasn't changed mentally, that's a whole other realm, but Rainbow Dash has changed, I think, the least compared to the rest of the main five, just basically for a few reasons. I do really like Rainbow Dash's base design. I think that there's enough to work with here that it could work in any sense. One of the big things that I wanted to do with this AU was still have the main five still in Ponyville, still being friends, still interacting, and that the main point of change is the fact that Midnight is in charge instead of Princess Celestia. So I think that a lot of things are still very, very similar to canon, and so their visuals have not really changed as much as they might have, say, in the Sombra timeline, where Rainbow Dash's hair is really short. So here, Rainbow Dash's hair is just up in a ponytail, gave her a little bit more of, like, ruggedness, some more bits and bobs and loose ends in her hair, just for the sake of it being a little bit different. I gave her goggles because I imagine that in this alternate universe, Rainbow Dash is head weather captain. She is apparently, canonically, the weather captain of Ponyville, and it's not that I don't believe that fact, it just feels like it isn't used as much as her Wonderbolt's aspirations are, and that's fine, it doesn't need to be, but here we want to focus more on her being a weather captain, her being in charge of Ponyville's weather, because I think that she no longer wishes to be a Wonderbolt. And why is that, you might be wondering? That's like her whole thing in the series, is she wanted to be a Wonderbolt. When she was a kid in this AU, Rainbow Dash got into an accident, and it ended up being where she couldn't fly for about 10 weeks, and that kind of scared her into never flying very fast or high again. Not helped by the fact that both of her parents, the coddling kind of characters that I see them as, were too worried about her and kind of moved her to be on the ground in Ponyville rather than Cloudsdale, so she couldn't fall again. Now, I know what you're saying is that she got into an accident in canon, and that didn't keep her from flying. And to that I say, if it happened in your adulthood, if you had an accident in your adulthood, I think that it wouldn't affect you as much as an accident in your childhood would. Especially if your parents are blowing that accident up to be this huge thing that was caused by this hobby that you like. I mean, if you got into a really bad skateboarding accident when you were 5, you probably wouldn't want to skateboard again, if your parents never let you skateboard again. But if you were an adult and you got into a skateboarding accident and you recovered perfectly fine, your adult brain could say, oh, I can skateboard again. Kind of like that. So yeah, this is Rainbow Dash. She is head weather captain, she is the buckball coach for Ponyville's elementary school, and she is, not looking very different visually. Alright, next is Rarity. Rarity has not changed much in the physical department. I made some changes to her hair and to her accessories, which you will see in a little bit. I imagine that here, Rarity also hasn't really changed a lot personality-wise. She's still very generous, she's still very, I don't want to say prissy, but, she's very posh. What's the nice word for posh? I'll have to Google that later. But she still is very much a fashionista, she likes to design, she likes to be a creative, and here, rather than her being just Ponyville's fashion designer, she is instead Ponyville's hairdresser. In this AU, I imagine that the cost of dresses has gone down significantly due to what ponies have begun to believe the end of the world. They're not worried about dresses very much, so Rarity's business has kind of been struggling, so I think that she probably needed to turn to something else, that being hairdressing. I think that hairdressing is a pretty good avenue for her to still be creative. I think that if the fashion business ever didn't work out, that might be what she would go to, especially because we know that she is good at working with hair, at least a little bit, because of that one episode that I can't remember the name of where she fucks with her hair. I will say I have some pretty big plans for Rarity in this series. I really want her to have her time to shine, and I really want her to have more to do. She might not be one of the main focuses of the series, but in my plans I do plan to give her quite a lot of screen time, I think about halfway through the series. Spoiler alert. But yeah, that's kind of all I have to say about Rarity. Alright, it's Pinkie Pie time. Pinkie Pie time... Fuck. Alright, it is Pinkie Pie time. Pinkie Pie probably has my favorite redesign out of all of the main 5. Besides some of the first drafts, Pinkie Pie's design hasn't really changed all that much. I gave her a lot of accessories because I think that she has become Midnight Sparkle's royal baker. Pinkie Pie is the party planner of Ponyville, but she is also a very good baker. So I imagine that as Midnight Sparkle was visiting all of the towns and cities in Equestria, just kind of, making the rounds, checking in on every pony, she met Pinkie Pie and was really captivated or impressed by her bakery skills. And because she probably fired all of the staff that Celestia had, she needed a new baker. And so she hired Pinkie Pie. So Pinkie Pie travels to Canterlot once or twice a week. Usually she'll be working over there making pastries for Midnight Sparkle. But because she's in the castle, she needs to look presentable. Midnight's royal advisors kind of told her that she needed to look nice, so she asked Rarity to make her some things to kind of freshen up her look so that she could be presentable. And so I gave her these cute little beads in her hair. I gave her a bow tie because I think that Pinkie Pie would kill in a bow tie. I gave her some cilia bands to match the colors that represented each of her friends, not because I think that those are more professional. I don't think cilia bands are very professional considering they have cilia in the name. I think that Pinkie Pie being away from Ponyville for so long would make her miss her friends, so she would have ways to remember them via these cilia bands. I don't know what kind of shapes they would make. Maybe Rainbow Dashes would make a lightning bolt, Rarities would make a diamond, Applejack and Fluttershy would be their cutie marks. They could all be their cutie marks, but I do think that that is a fun touch, and I think that it is Pinkie Pie. A lot of Pinkie Pie redesigns that I see online give her so many little things, little bits and bobs, and I wanted to pay homage and follow that kind of line of thinking because I think Pinkie Pie, if we weren't working on with an animation budget and needed to continuously keep animating these characters, I think that Pinkie Pie would be a really successful character with a lot of bits and bobs. So here is Pinkie Pie. So next is Fluttershy. I think Fluttershy has changed very much both in the story sense and in the physical sense. Fluttershy in this AU is living with Applejack in the Apple family. She moved out of her cottage when it started to become a little too dangerous to stay so close to the Everfree Forest for reasons that I'll have to reveal later. But she ended up moving in with the Apple family instead, living with them because they were the only ponies that had space in their house out of the main 5. So Fluttershy has begun living with them, and in exchange she has worked with their animals. She has become a very integral part of the Apple family. She helps them make animal products when the apples have really been struggling financially with selling apples. Fluttershy's hair has also gotten significantly shorter. That's because doing farm work, having very long hair probably isn't very practical, and so she would have to get it cut eventually for her safety and for the safety of the animals. So she would go to Rarity to get it cut, and I think that it would probably be a pretty upsetting experience. I think that Fluttershy's hair, it being so long, is a very big part of her character, at least in the early seasons, to kind of really hit home to the fact that she's very shy and socially anxious. So for Fluttershy's long hair to be cut, it's an interesting character development that we can explore and go through, and it's an interesting bit of visual storytelling. A lot of these redesigns really hinge on environmental storytelling once we're in the environment. I know it doesn't really hit right now because we don't know what the environment is, and I promise it will all make sense eventually. But yeah, that is Fluttershy. Rounding out the main 5 with Applejack, who has changed the most visually. Quite a few things have happened here. Like everybody else, I've kind of given her some more accessories, or I guess one accessory, and switched around her hair. Here, like I said before with Fluttershy, the apples have kind of been struggling financially ever since the incident, is what I'll have to call it for now. The incident that has kind of rendered growing apples useless. So Applejack has really turned to a life of carpentry, actually. She's, a builder. She helps with building projects around Ponyville. So that's kind of where I think that she might have gotten these scars, at least one on her the one on her nose. I gave her a scar on one of her back legs. Maybe it's from a Timberwolf incident. I'm not entirely sure yet. I'll figure it out whenever. But the biggest things are her bandana that I gave her around her neck and her short hair. The bandana is the matching bandana that she and Fluttershy have to match. Maybe has a friendship bracelet type beat that they gave each other when Fluttershy moved in. And Applejack's hair is short as well. When Fluttershy got her hair cut by Rarity, Applejack got her hair cut as well, just in a sort of solidarity sense. I think that Fluttershy was probably really upset about her hair getting cut, so Applejack cut her hair as well to help make her not feel alone. I think that this sort of decision by Applejack shows that they are kind of more than close friends, at least at the surface, but you'll have to determine that as we go along. I honestly don't have a lot to say about Applejack. She's also got her own set of plans that I have for her, a character arc of sorts. I've got character arcs for all of them, but Applejack probably is the simplest in terms of why I redesigned everything, but because her life truly has not changed besides quote unquote adopting Fluttershy. But yeah, that's kind of all I have to say about her. Now, you might think this is where we talk about Twilight, but no, we have to introduce 2 new characters that are going to be joining the main cast and be creating our main 7. The first of these ponies taking Twilight's place is Sunset Shimmer. Now here, Sunset Shimmer has remained Celestia's student and has remained in Canterlot her entire life. She has not ran away to the human world. She's been living in Ponyville ever since Midnight Sparkle has taken over, actually currently on the run from her after an attack. That's kind of why she has that scar on her eye, is that she was attacked and thus got the scar. Her hair is significantly different than her normal self, as a way to avoid being recognized. Sure, wanted posters exist, but I'm kind of imagining that they're not in color, so Sunset has avoided getting caught for this long, at least, luckily enough. I think I based this on an Equestria Girl's design, her new hair. I think it was maybe her Crystal Guardian skin. I'll put something up in the edit if it's not. That's kind of the inspiration for this look, is making it look a little bit more fancy, I guess. I really do like this design. I really do like that Sunset Shimmer is here. I like the role that she plays a lot. She's probably one of my favorite characters, followed by the second character that takes Twilight's spot. Maybe I'm a little bit biased, but who knows. Originally, the story was going to be just the main 5. It started out as the main 5, and I think it was originally Sunset who was the first of the 2 new characters. She was sort of taking Twilight's place all on her own. But eventually, it felt right to add a second character because I didn't feel right making Sunset just a copy of Twilight. So that is where we'll get into next. Alright, it is time for me to get into my favorite character that I have redesigned for this series, Moondancer. The side character from, I think, 2 episodes in My Little Pony has become one of the main characters in Midnight's Reign. Why Moondancer, you may ask? Well, because she originally was one of Twilight's best and only friends in school, and so I wanted to keep that line, and I wanted to give her a starring role in Midnight's Reign. So, I won't go into the specifics again too much, just to avoid spoilers, because I do hope to release the pilot of this series very soon. But for a little bit of spoilers, Moondancer is living in Ponyville and does get changed up a little bit, about maybe halfway through what I plan to be episode 1. I give her hair a bit of a different look, just so she doesn't look exactly like Twilight with her hair down. I moved her beads around, I gave her a scarf instead of a sweater because I would think that she's very warm in that sweater. I made the hair just a little bit cleaner to indicate that she's maybe taking care of herself more. And really, Moondancer is just a very special character to me now. She's more become an OC at this point. I love her so dearly. I love seeing so much content about her when I'm able to. And I am a fan club of 1 or maybe 3 with this character. But yeah, with that is our finished Moondancer redesign. Alright, now it's time for Midnight Sparkle, our main antagonist of the series. This video is a little bit different. The speed paint that I have is a little bit different because I recorded this before everybody else's redesign, so I didn't do the before and after, and really it doesn't necessarily matter because Midnight Sparkle is in such a different form. You can kind of very obviously see the changes. I made this original picture that you can see in the top in 2020, December of 2020. So it's been 4 years since I've actually started drawing for this series. But this redesign that you can't see now because I'm blocking it definitely needs an update. So I decided to take more traits from the Equestria Girls Midnight Sparkle. I gave her that black middle bit of hair rather than it being just an ombre effect. I made the hair shape up much simpler so it can be drawn easier. I made the cutie mark more angular and aggressive. I didn't love the big wide starburst that she had before, so I made it nice and sleek. I gave her some I gave her some gemstones on her shoes. I made the colors be pretty similar to Midnight Sparkle from Canon. And honestly, the colors were kind of the hardest part to figure out. I didn't know if I needed to add this teal in more places. I'm glad that I didn't, but one of the biggest things was just figuring out these colors. One of the biggest things that I kind of have a gripe with in the Brony community is the mischaracterization of Twilight. I know mischaracterization is a word that a lot of media people will throw around, but in fan works, Twilight is sometimes portrayed as somebody who doesn't care about her friends and doesn't like is just a bad person, and I really wanted there to be more depth than that. I didn't want this to just be another, oh, Twilight is evil because she is a bookworm and antisocial. It might seem like that at the beginning, but I really wanted there to be more than that to Twilight. So like I said, I can't go into it too terribly much right now, but it's important to me that it is understood that this story is not just another Twilight is evil because she is evil. There is some depth to it. Ever since I started this, Twilight has probably become my actual favorite character from canon. I relate very much to her heavily ever since I got into college. Ugh. But really, that's kind of why it's so important to me, is just making sure everybody knows that Twilight is okay. At the time of the pilot, Midnight has probably been ruling for about a year. I would say a year. So there has been some time, there has been some things going on, some things that have shifted in canon. She has allies. I really wanted to keep Twilight's ability to make friends, so I gave her allies. We'll get to see those allies eventually in the series, but that's kind of where I'm going to leave it off for right now. If you enjoyed this video, please let me know in any way you see fit, whether that be liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing. I would really appreciate it. Like I said, this has been in development for years, and I am just now getting the time to work on it full time. So it would mean a lot to me if you could show me some support. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment. I am willing to answer them as best as I can. Follow me on Blue Sky, as that's where a lot of my art will be. I also have an Instagram and a Twitter, except I don't really post there. And if you're looking to get involved in the Midnight's Rain project, please keep an eye out for the pilot episode that'll be coming probably at the end of this month. We'll be posting a casting call link, which will have all of the information you need if you would want to voice act, if you want to be an artist. All of that stuff will be available at the end of the month. Thank you so much. I have been Kai, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye-bye!